You've seen it before and called it nothing? A quick flutter in the bushes, a sharp chip from the oak tree, or a crow that seems to follow you just a little too far down the street. We often dismiss these as random flickers of life in the background of our busy days, but there is a silent calculation happening right now. Every time you step outside, you are being weighed, measured, and categorized by a hidden intelligence that never forgets a face. If you have ever felt that deep, unspoken connection to the wild things in your own backyard, you belong here with us. Subscribe so you never miss a sign from the world around you. Today, we are uncovering a truth that might be difficult to hear because it involves the moment your well intentioned kindness turned you into a ghost in your own garden. Stay with us until the very end because the final discovery we will share explains how a single mistake can echo through generations of birds long after you've forgotten the day it happened. It starts with a moment of pure empathy. You are in your yard and you see a small bird on the ground. It is fluffy with short tail feathers, hopping awkwardly and making high-pitched sounds that pull at your heartstrings. It looks injured and abandoned, and every instinct you have tells you that leaving it there means certain death. So you reach down, you pick it up, perhaps thinking you'll put it back in a nest or bring it inside to safety. In your mind, you are a hero. But in the biological reality of that bird, something much darker is happening. Research from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology is very clear that the vast majority of these birds are not in distress. They are fledglings in a normal and necessary developmental stage. While you were looking down at the baby, two adult birds were likely watching you from 30 feet above in the dense branches of a tree. When you made contact with that fledgling, you didn't just touch a bird, you triggered a massive stress response in its tiny body. Note, mentioning specific biological terms like corticosterone for stress or nidopallium for brain function is based on general scientific knowledge and not directly from the provided source. More importantly, you activated the threat assessment system of the parents. According to the sources, what you just did is functionally identical to what a cat, a raccoon, or a hawk does in the moment before it kills. You approached, you made contact, and you removed the young from the location where they were being monitored. To the parent birds, you are no longer a friendly neighbor. You are now categorized as a predator. In the seconds after you picked up that bird, the air likely filled with sound. You might have heard sharp, repetitive chips or screams, but these were not random noises. Research from the University of Washington on alarm call syntax has shown that many bird species encode information about the type of threat, its size, and its behavior directly into the structure of the call. For example, a chickadee will increase the number of D syllables at the end of its call based on how dangerous it perceives a predator to be. The parents weren't just screaming in grief. They were broadcasting your description to every bird in the area. Because different species listen to each other's alarms, every nuthatch, cardinal, and blue jay within earshot updated their internal assessment of you. You were announced as a threat to the entire neighborhood. If the species of bird whose baby you touched was a corvid, a crow, a blue jay, or a raven, the situation becomes even more permanent. Sources highlight a landmark study from the University of Washington which demonstrated that American crows can recognize individual human faces and remember them for years. They can even alter their behavior towards specific people based on these past experiences. If you picked up a baby crow, the parents filed your face into what we can call a distributed threat database. This memory is so powerful that it has been documented to persist for at least 7 years. Perhaps most remarkably, crows that were never even present for the original event will learn from their elders that your face represents a mortal danger. Even for species that don't recognize faces as specifically as crows do, they are experts at recognizing locations and routines. If you picked up a fledgling in your yard, the parents associate that specific patch of earth with a life-threatening event. They remember the place and the approximate time of day, and if you are a regular presence, they begin to associate you specifically with that threat profile. The trust you may have spent months or years building by filling feeders and moving slowly through the garden is reset to zero, or even worse. The birds that used to feed comfortably while you sat on your porch will suddenly flush when you appear. A cardinal that once sang from the fence might go silent and retreat to cover the moment it hears your door open. This is the silent tragedy of the marked predator. You thought you were saving a life, but as the sources suggest, you were ending a relationship you didn't even know you had. There is a profound grief in realizing that the creatures we admire from afar view us not as friends, but as the very monsters they spend their lives trying to avoid. Trust in the natural world is a fragile thing, built on thousands of predictable, non threatening interactions, and it can be shattered by a single minute of misunderstood intentions. Wild animals do not perceive your heart, they perceive your actions. To them, the hand that reaches out to help is indistinguishable from the claw that reaches out to kill. Does this mean we should never help? Not exactly. The sources clarify that if you find a nestling, a bird that is completely featherless with its eyes closed, it should not be on the ground and you can safely return it to the nest. The old myth that parents will reject a baby touched by humans is false. But if the bird is feathered and hopping, it is a fledgling. The best thing you can do for that bird and for your relationship with the birds in your yard is to do nothing. Move it a few feet only if it's in immediate danger from a car or a pet, and then back away. Give them the space they need to grow and give the parents the space they need to protect them. You cannot always reverse the damage once you have been categorized as a predator, but you can stop making it worse by being predictable and respecting their boundaries. Over many months, the alarm response may slowly decrease if you remain a calm, distant presence. But that day of intervention will likely remain etched in the memory of the trees for a long time. We have to learn to love nature on its terms, not ours. Was there a day in your yard when everything suddenly went still and you realized you were no longer welcome? Tell us your story in the comments below. I read every one of them. Thank you for watching and for caring enough to listen to the whispers of the wild. This is Mind of Backyard Birds.